First tonight at 9, a U.S. representative taking aim at the crime rate in Springfield and pushing for local allegiance with ICE. A Greene County murder now at the center of a political push on immigration enforcement. KY3's Connor Trent joins us live outside the Greene County jail where the suspects in that homicide are being held. He has some of the public's reaction. Connor.
Discussion regarding the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement was at the center of a news conference this morning with Missouri lawmakers. That meeting was called for, quote, addressing the tragic murder of 15-year-old Miles Young.
Knew that the press conference was not about the family.
Dominique Moore didn't shy away from a media event staged to highlight a Springfield murder. She didn't agree with the speakers.
The narrative that Eric Burleson is trying to spin to support 287G agreements is that we have a rampant immigration crime problem in our area, and that's just not the case.
Representative Eric Burleson highlighted murder suspect Jeffrey Archega from Honduras. He's one of the people charged in the murder of Miles Young. 2 U.S. citizens, including Praise King, are also charged in the case. In court filings, the prosecutor writes the likely motive for the murder was Young's involvement with another murder, one in 2025. It goes on to say that Miles Young was a witness.
As this is an active and ongoing criminal investigation, I will not be providing any additional details or commenting on this case at this time. However, I will state unequivocally that incidents such as this highlight the critical need for immigration and customs enforcement.
Missouri Congressman Eric Burleson urging local and county agencies to sign what's known as a 287G agreement. The agreement means police officers can interrogate immigrants in their custody and detain them for potential deportation.
I would say one of the numbers that we really can't be proud of is some of our crime statistics. And I think that's something that we need to do more.
Missouri State Senator Curtis Trent argued that additional immigration enforcement is tied to Springfield's public safety.
We cannot have public safety and order when foreign gangs of illegal aliens have the capacity to organize armed criminal enterprises.
There are currently 233 people detained for ICE in Greene County Jail. Of those 233, 9 have criminal charges, so that's 3.86%.
Springfield PD says that they do not plan to sign a 287G agreement. And in its most recent report, SPD said that the overall crime in the city was down nearly 5% last year. Reporting in Greene County, Connor Trent, KY3 News.